All right, part two of this old saw. No, I'm just kidding. I want to talk about the 5 series filtration. I agree that I'm not disagreeing with anyone about something needs to be better on them. And I don't know exactly what it is, and I'm not 100% sure about my claims here. Well, I know I'm 100% sure about my claims, but I don't know if that's what's letting the fines pass or not. In which Gordy with West Coast Saw makes a killer option for the 572 as far as the aftermarket filter. Those foam filters, if oiled correctly and used correctly, are far superior than any filter there is. I've run them on the Steels, run them on the Husky, and take them down and no fines be in the intake whatsoever. But, they are a bit more work than your ordinary flock filters or your screen filters or whatever. And my theory to these 5 series, 562 maybe not so bad, we'll see. But the 572 and the 592, I've noticed every time I run them, even if it's just for a tank or two, I can bring them in, and I checked them yesterday, so it may not be, I may not have any saws that are like that right at the moment. We'll see. But I can run them a little, and then I can come in and I can tighten the filter up again. It's like the filter rattles loose in a sense. And so I'm going to grab a couple of them, and I'm just going to see if any of them like that. Like I say, I went through muffler modding some saws here and there yesterday, so I don't know that they're going to be loose, because I can't remember which ones I've tightened up and which ones I ain't. But like that one, you see how much of a turn I got out of that? I got over a half a turn, and every time I run them, I do them just like that. Tighten them up as tight as I can, finger tight. And maybe that's what this is for, but I'm always afraid that I'm going to go too much, you know what I'm saying? And plus, you want to be able to loosen up in the field. Well, I guess, use one of these. But, I get that. I got that much out of that. And every one of them's like that. Every time I run them. This one I put a muffler mod on, so let's check it. That was the Buxton saw. This is the Cajun saw. Let's see. And like I say, I haven't run this in a minute, so I don't know if it's good or bad or indifferent. Yeah, got a little bit out of that. Maybe not quite half a turn, but close to it. So there's 2 for 2. I'm pretty sure I checked the mastermind saw. Let's check the, and like I say, I tighten these up, but tight like that. Like I'm tightening up with all my might. Here's the R&A length saw. I may have tightened this because I was running it quite a bit more than any other ones. I hadn't done a ton of cutting here lately, so some of the saws ain't been run as much as I was running this one pretty steady when I was cutting there. But yet again, about another half a turn close to it. Like saying, every time I bring them in, change the chain or whatever, I check them. So, and I might be missing them, here and there. Actually, maybe it's a mastermind saw that I only tightened up. I think it was. Let's see here. Here's my 562. I'm not running a ton. It's tight. Maybe it was that. I don't know. I haven't run it a ton since I put it back together. I've been muffling on. This the Oregon versus cut bar. These things are actually really light and cheap. If you don't mind, it weighs about a half pound less than the Husky light and the Sugi light, and the 2 foot deal. Of course, it don't have a replaceable tip. But also Amazon had these on sale for 50 bucks. You could get 3 of them for the price of one of these, you know, one of these Husky light bars. Let's check this Mastermind saw just because I'm running through them checking them. I've got more saws in my truck. I'm sure I could. Yeah, I tightened that one up yesterday. But it was loose yesterday when I done it, and all the cutting I done was felling that walnut tree, and I maybe limbed a little bit, but I bucked and limbed with that 562. So, and I know I tightened this up when I first got it because every time I get a different saw, I go through the checklist. I open it up, you know, check the decomp, pull the muffler for the muffler mind, and check it, all that kind of thing, you know what I mean? So I make sure sometimes these vent tubes or whatever these are on the Huskies will come out, and so I was checking for that and all that kind of thing. So it is what it is, but you know, there's 3 or 4 saws there. Here's the job lot 550. I've not run it a ton. I've done some testing with it, but it could still be run. I need to close this hole up because I read some stuff that Tree Monkey put on his channel or shared a link to, that Johnson Red and Husky does have, it's not a ton, but they can prove that their chainsaws are somewhat of a turbo like chainsaw. Yeah, that was a half a turn out of that. It went from straight to side or a quarter turn, whatever you want to call it. But what I'm getting at is, you know, and I check these every time. So, and you know, most of the time I'm running 1 or 2, 3 tanks through it and then checking it again. You know, some people may be going longer than that before they ever check them, and that could be a little bit of why there's fines creeping into the intake horn. That's my theory. Because you look at any of these Huskies of mine, and they're not big honks, and it's not terrible, but there are some fines in there, and you know, it's not like the filter is completely filled up or filthy. You know, I did have 1 or 2 saws, like the Aaron A. Lent saw, and maybe one other, the Cajun saw that was fairly dirty. 2 saws that was running quite a bit there for a while. You know, and probably didn't tighten them like I should. But honestly, I feel like you may want to check these maybe every tank or so. You know, every time you fill it up, maybe pop that off and just give it a little snug. I don't know that it'll help or hurt anything. I mean, it can't hurt anything other than just cost you a little bit of time. But I don't know if that little bit of tightening up warrants enough, or it backing off some warrants enough to let fines in or not. But you know, eventually if it gets so loose, it's gotta, you know, because that sits down on a rubber like gasket, and then that gasket's to the plastic. So if it gets so loose, it's gotta let something give a little bit. So, and you know, this West Coast saw filter will fix that issue of having to tighten it up and whatnot, because, or it should, because you know, you get that plate that comes with it. I've got a video on it. Screw it down there, and I'd probably even would Loctite it in there, and then you clamp that to it. So I just don't know it here. You know, you screw this down on, and you know, if you Loctite it in there, it shouldn't come loose. Might be a pain in the butt to get back out again. But I even put some grease on the bottom of that thing. You know, I've had some of my saws tore down. You know, was the intake side scuffed up any? Maybe on some of them just a teensy bit, but not like it's not terrible. And you know, most saws are going to ingest some kind of fines unless you're running a foam filter, like the steels do. You know, pretty bad. And apparently the Huskies do some. I don't know if they're as bad as the steels are. You know, the 3 Series I hear is perfect. Back when I was running the 3 Series, I never really paid that much attention about it. I wasn't real big in the maintenance. I just ran them and went. You know, if they tore up, took them and got them fixed, and went on with it. So I never pay that much attention to it. It wasn't until I started being kind of an enthusiast and hobbyist into saws that I paid that much attention. So anyhow, that's my little spiel on possibly helping you on your 5 Series. It may not amount to a hill of beans, but then it may help you out. So we'll catch y'all later. I appreciate you, and have a good one.